testing 1, 2, 3.
Insane, du bist bereit?
Jo.
Wir spielen nochmal eine Extended Jingle. Good morning, deadline. I hope you all slept well, massaged by the bass.
Language set
and to kick off today's today, we will have the first program point, the seminar about InsaneOS. Give him a hand.
Thank you, thank you. I am Insane, and so is my name. And I'm going to talk about my little toy operating system, InsaneOS. So, developing a bare metal operating system on the Pi 0, Pi 1, Pi 2, Pi 3 platform, single tasking and single user in 2024, because we can. A little bit of history. InsaneOS. So this operating system runs on a box standard Raspberry Pi. There's no Linux anywhere to be found. That's also why it's fast as fuck. It started as the Insane CPU. Some of you may remember it from Deadline eons ago, where I showed the prototype, which was basically this one. This was a project to develop a super CPU compatible accelerator for the Commodore 64. For one reason only. There's a game called Metal Dust, which needs the super CPU. And yeah, this game is why I am standing here right now. Also, we had a very nice boot animation done by Titus. Notice the Sputnik. There's a Sputnik because the original Super CPU had a rocket flying. And yeah, we need to go bigger. So why are we talking about InsaneOS and not about the Insane CPU? One thing before. Why did I do the Insane CPU? Well, the Super CPU isn't available anymore, and compared to the Super CPU, a Blizzard 1260 for the Amiga is dirt cheap. The first prototype was functional in 2017. It was based upon the Pi 1A+, later the Pi 0. And yes, as I said, the only goal was to play Metal Dust. Unfortunately, I had timing problems. Nope. As you see on the top, there's the Raspberry Pi, and in the middle there's a PSOC system, not system chip, a microcontrol unit with an integrated CPLD. And this was the interface between the Pi and the C64 side. It also had nice features. I coded a copper on the C64, so you could, any Amiga programmer knows what a copper is. You could modify the state of the Commodore 64 according to the video position, which was very nice. But unfortunately, I had timing problems. If you have a C64 with 6510, so the original longboard C64, or a C128, the bus timing simply wasn't there. On an 8500 though, so the short board C64, the Super CPU, the Insane CPU, run very good. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to fix the problems, and yeah, like enthusiasm killed the project. But then during 2020, I said to myself, hey, wait a second. I have this like bare metal operating system. The Pi 0 is unusable under Linux. So why not do 1+1 and remove the Commodore 64? That's basically why I did the InsaneOS. So what is this? So you have a bare metal operating system, think DOS-like, with audio-video calls, USB calls. The USB is not pluggable yet. For development, you can use the RS-232 interface, which runs at 6 megabytes, so 600 kilobytes a second. C and C++ is supported, also assembly for those who want. Everything is cross-development. There isn't a native C compiler or assembler yet, but there will be. But for cross-development, you can use CMake and AutoConf-based tools. The video interface is simply a box standard frame buffer. The Raspberry Pi can talk OpenGL due to it having the firmware on the Broadcom chip. Unfortunately, InsaneOS doesn't support it and will never do, because I would have to port millions of lines of Linux code, and I don't want to. Anyway, frame buffer is better. The HDMI screen resolution, no refresh rate, is set on boot. It's basically running at full HD. And if you say to InsaneOS, hey, I want 330 times 200, InsaneOS will simply scale the picture up to the full HD resolution. Right now, you only have the option to switch between 50 and 60 Hz on boot, but this will also be done during runtime very soon. Software status. So, what have I ported until now? There's a Master System port, which was very easy because I had the emulator running on my Atari Falcon, so I know my way around. There's an Atari XL, ported because the 8-bit sceners nagged me to death. I'm working right now on the Atari ST emulator, because Atari rules. And on the to-do list is the 64, the Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, and Amiga. What's else done? SDL1 is fully supported, SDL2 will be supported. So I also managed to port stuff like Dev Rally, ScumVM, which works very good. Tyrion, for those who know, it's a shut 'em up game. Spout is just a little cave shooter. Of course, Metal Dust finally runs, running inside a custom 65816 emulation. I ported Wizard of War with the arcade graphics, and also Worms from the Falcon 060, which was ported from the Macintosh, which was ported from the DOS version, which was ported to InsaneOS via static recompiling. So basically, I wrapped every Motorola assembly instruction in a C macro and used some C magic. So seeing is believing. No, not ScumVM, but look at games. Metal Dust. Jetzt mal bitte Ton anmachen. So this is the reason why InsaneOS exists, more or less. And to anyone who doesn't know that game, as I said, it's a Super CPU game for the Commodore 64. The Super CPU allows a 65816 processor at 20 MHz and up to 16 MB of RAM. So no more 64K, but 16 MB. This game only needs 4 MB, which is still way too much if you ask me. And so on. And yes, I played the thing to death, that's why I could play it with one hand only. And you know, everybody who was here last year knows the Worms port because we played from an InsaneOS device. What's also ported? Various demos, everything I could get my filthy hands on and which could be ported via SDL. Also, for those of you who want to make music, there's a Go Tracker 2, asked by the Lazy. There's a Schism Tracker to get those Impulse Tracker vibes up. There's also the Zimbos VM. What the fuck is the Zimbos VM? Well, there is one guy called Prodatron who created his own Windows, not compatible, but Windows-like environment on a CPC. And the Zimbos VM is basically Z80, frame buffer, and speed. can't show it unfortunately because I have no mouse. Also various players. I have a zip player, MP3 player, mod player. There's also a player for the V64, C64 video format. This was a toy project done while the Insane CPU still was working. And this is basically 50 Hertz multicolor koala video on the C64. It runs on the C64, on a real C64 with the Insane CPU included. Also in progress, Pinball Dreams. I'm porting that from the GP32. Regarding V64, I want to show you a little something you all should know. Who can guess it? What you hear and what you see, you can also hear and see from the normal C64 with the Insane CPU.
A monk asked Bozan, "What is Buddha?" Tozan said, "A tongue."
As I said, multicolor. Do you guys want to see the demo until the end? Yeah, this was Masagin in my custom V64 video format, which is encoded with own development multicolor encoder. And as Titus said, the Commodore 64 aesthetics makes it very sexy. So this was a little departure. Oh, wait a sec. I still have one stuff left. A SID player. Because, as I said, the Insane CPU was a C64 expansion device, and I had all that code already running. And that's why it's also running on InsaneOS. And if any music player authors are looking right now, this is how I imagined a SID player to look. Yeah. So you finally see the notes. Take note, KJ. So, let's go through the rest. The internal details for all your programmers. InsaneOS reserves the first 60 megabytes of RAM for the kernel and the stack. The last 32 megabytes of RAM are reserved for the GPU, and the rest is available for the applications. So right now we are having like, should be around 400 something megabyte free. The app is loaded to megabyte 16. It's a simple binary dump. There are no relocations. It's basically as simple as it gets. And still, you see, it's enough for most things. The OS calls are called via SVI, the software interrupt on the ARM CPU. There are calls for audio, video input, interrupt, defusing, file.io, text.io, UART.io, are optimized split routines for 8-bit per pixel, 16-bit per pixel, and 32-bit per pixel. The internal frame buffer is always running at 32-bit per pixel, and the optimized blitz do the rest. So it's there is no performance penalty to not using 8-bit in hardware. There's also a custom libc for the C developers, which will be removed because it's way too much work for like 40 kilobytes saved. I'm using the new lib for C and C++ support, which will be extended soon. And there will also be a new USB stack. The current one is not plug-and-play compatible. It's also a bit of flaky. Data can acknowledge that. If you have the wrong USB hub, you get a nice boot loop. But it will be fixed in the future release. There will also be a new audio stack, which will be smaller and also stabler. There will be the possibilities to switch the HDMI output between 15, 16, and 70 Hertz. 70 Hertz for those who don't know, in runtime. And it's also planned to have more games, more emulators, more demos, more applications. What I'm also planning to do is support for retro hardware keyboard interfaces. There is an interface for the BMC64 emulator, for those who don't know. It's a bare metal C64 emulator. And there's also an interface where you can take your normal C64, so with the board, and you can connect the C64 keyboard to the Pi, and I will also support that. So you could have a stealth InsaneOS machine which instantly boots in a Commodore emulator or an Atari emulator to fuck with your friends if you want. Maybe so. There will also be an interface for the Atari ST keyboard and maybe for the Amiga keyboards. I don't know yet. In the far future, there will also be Pi 4 and Pi 400 support, which will be a little bit difficult because the Pi 0, 1, 2, and 3 all share the same GPU core, the VC4. They share the same USB core, the same SD core, and the Pi 4 has the video core 6, the Pi 5 has the video core 7. So there are new drivers needed, there's a new USB device which needs new drivers, and so on and so forth. So that's on the back burner. And in the immediate future, there will also be other keyboards layout than German. I promise. Maybe. InsaneOS preview release will be released after the deadline party on my website, insane.tsc.de/InsaneOS. As I said, I'm insane, and so is my name, from Rabenauge and the 07X Corporation. Well, I hope I haven't bored you to death too much. Any questions?
I will come with the microphone. 1 second.
Reicht, wenn du erscheinst.
Before I ask my question, I have more just like a comment, because you said I want to support more keyboard layouts than just .de, and we all know that keyboard layouts in itself are just like problematic.
Yeah.
And I see here a big opportunity to make something new with a very simplified sort of keyboard stuff, maybe just like to think about it.
Well, the plan was to have a keyboard layout editor, so I can just grab some user one and have fun.
Yeah.
And please give me the file.
Okay, and my question is, if I want to have this, how do I install that?
Again, please.
If I want to have this, how is the installation process?
Good question. So you only need a FAT32 format SD card and unzip the InsaneOS distribution on the root, so that it will look like this. This is basically the root of the SD card. You have the bootcode.bin from the Raspberry Foundation, the config file, fixup, and startelf are the boot code from for the normal Pi, and kernel 7 is the InsaneOS kernel. Kernel for Pi 0 and Pi 1, and kernel 7 for Pi 2 and Pi 3. So basically unzip it, and that's it.
More questions?
Hello. Is it available on GitHub?
Not yet, but it's planned for the far future, as soon as get this stuff in stable form.
Very good, thank you.
Of course, everything I ported, which is open source, will be on my GitHub.
More questions?
Okay,
All right.
thank you for your time, and have a great deadline.
Thank you, Insane. Give him a big hand. And coming up next is the Deadline 10 years anniversary demo show. And I think it should start at 2-ish. Also, I already heard some popcorn popping. So I guess right when the demo show will be starting, there will be also popcorn, or also now already. The bar is open. Klemmbaustein competition is running, so get your dose of Klemmbaustein at the info desk and build something. And yeah, see you later.